Hello. In this episode, we're going to focus again on strength through stillness. They're called isometrics, where you hold a position keeping your body very still. The news recently has been flush with studies promoting that isometric exercises can help decrease blood pressure. They used a wall sit, which I covered in another video, but they also used planks, which we're going to talk about in this video. The thing about planks is they're usually great for people who can already do them. But many people, A, can't do them, and B, more importantly, don't enjoy doing them. So I'm going to help you to maybe discover some variations that work better for you. The first thing about a plank is the higher your hands are off the floor, the less intense it will be on your upper body and more to your lower body and less intense on your torso as well. So for example, if I had a wall here, leaning forward, my hands against the wall is less intense than my hands on the floor, either standing or kneeling. And that's a principle you can take to yourself. So you can start with your hands on the wall, leaning forward. And once that feels comfortable, bring your hands down to a lower surface like a countertop. And then once you have the hang on that, bring your hands lower to like a couch. And then lower still to maybe some stacked boxes that are very secure. And then going towards the floor at the end. Be aware that the surface area may affect your comfortability. So hand on a softer surface may sink your palm lower than your fingers, and you might not care for that over time. You can also, conversely, if this was a towel, I could fold up a towel and put my palm on it and my fingers just on the edge of it towards the surface contact to alleviate any sort of wrist pain. You can also be on your elbows for a lot of them. Realize that when you go onto your elbows, you're bringing your torso lower to the floor, so that will increase the intensity of your body relative to straight arm. So if the straight arm version is too uncomfortable for your extremities, your hands, fingers, wrist, you can come onto your elbows, but that brings you bring your body lower to the floor. That increases the intensity of your muscle recruitment required for your torso, because the weight comes less towards just your lower body and more towards your whole body, legs, torso, and arms, as opposed to mostly legs, torso, and less arms, right? So if you bring your elbows down, just realize it's going to increase certain intensity capacities. You can do them with bent knees down or legs straight. Some people, when their knees are down, prefer to have their feet off the floor, ankles across. That is fine, right? And I think I covered the basics there of what to do. So try them out for yourself before we get going, and find a place that you could think you could manage. We're going to do 4 rounds of planks. We're going to do a round forward, a round a minute, that's 2 minutes, then 2-minute break. Our next round is a minute on a side, minute on the other side, 2-minute break. We repeat that side, and then we do a reverse plank, right? Because it's important that plank, it goes all the way around your body relative to gravity. So gravity is affecting all of your torso and not just the one position, which is what the studies did. But that, again, that's not advantageous for a general population. So here we go. If my Face ID would work, that'd be great. I'm sure you know this feeling of, oh, it didn't work. That's okay. All right. We have 2 minutes. When you're ready, get yourself set up. You can always press pause. Here we go. 2 minutes. Great. Now, things to think about here is your one long line for you have straight knees, from your heel through your knee to your hip, through your ribs to your shoulder to your ear. What tends to happen over time is that gravity pulls our hips down. And there's nothing specifically wrong with that unless it makes you immediately uncomfortable, right? You can have the strength to hold that position, but that's not what a plank is. A plank is one long line as if you were standing, right? Something else that happens is the hips tend to go a little higher. And again, that's fine as well. It's just not what you would call a traditional plank, right? I'd prefer that your hips go higher than lower because that tends to be more comfortable for a larger range of people. But otherwise, it's not such a big deal. There are many practices like yoga that have you going through that position for a little bit, not 2 minutes, but for a little bit, right? So think about that. Now, you can always put your knees down to make it less intense for you as well, right? You'll find that helps. You can always hit pause. If you're at your limit, hit pause, take note of the time, and that's the time you should go for yourself. Things to watch out for also is that your head doesn't drop down, right? You're reaching out to the crown of your head. You're also not letting your rib cage come forward as well. You're pushing that floor away from you, but not so much that you're rounding your spine. Yeah, it's tricky, right? So hopefully you're finding ways that work for you that are comfortable for your personal practice. If you started low and are like, uh-oh, I'm too low, put your knees down, right? And then for the next round, you can do the same thing with your own practice, because you can replay these videos more than once. For your next time around, you can either start a little higher off the floor or do the same exact thing and see if you can keep your knees straighter for longer. Even a few seconds longer will get you stronger over time. And again, you might feel your wrist here quite a bit. I recommend you come onto your elbows, but realize that will put more pressure to your upper body in general. One knee down, two knees down, rest. Sit in a way that works for you or stand, and just get your wrist to circulate here. Right. So that was our first round, and it's already over with. Hopefully I started the timer and didn't turn it off. Yeah, I did. Right, do a little circle here, breathe. You can feel how that elevated your heart rate, and that's never a bad thing, so long as it's in a comfortable zone of breathing and focusing on your form for you. Again, planks are not practiced by the general population because they find them unpalatable. So the response to that is make it palatable for you. Right? Everyone doing the same thing is not the way life ever is, as you know for your own experience, right? We all need different things in different ways. So adjust it to make it appropriate for where you are and what your goals are. Again, here the goal is a 2-minute plank. It could be any plank. It doesn't have to be plank on the floor facing forward. It is any plank that works for you. Now our next variation are side planks, right? You can be on the wall, counter, furniture, boxes, maybe the floor. You can do it with a straight arm, but if your wrist doesn't like that, on your elbow. Realize if you're on your elbow, it's going to be more pressure to your upper body and less pressure to your legs. It's not very subtle on the side, but you'll really feel that. It'll become very clear. You can also do it with your bottom knee down. Straight arm, bottom knee down is a great way to practice, right? If you're doing your plank, top leg can be forward, easier. 2 legs stacked is harder. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to practice a side plank on one side than the other. That's what I recommend you do, because all of your body weight's on one arm. That's much more intense than your body weight being on 2 arms for the other plank. So you're going to do 1 minute on one arm, another minute on the other. Try to do similar variations, knees down, 1 knee down, 1 knee down. All right. I've talked a lot. Here we go. On to your side plank. Uh-oh, forgot my phone. That's kind of essential because I need to see what a minute is. Now, the goal in plank is one long line again, looking forward. Try not to let the hips go too low or conversely too high. You are pushing the floor away actively with that bottom arm reaching out through the crown of your head long. Top foot can be on the floor in front of you, easier, or a leg stack is a lot more balanced and more difficult. Make sure the shoulder isn't creeping up towards your ear. Again, you're really pushing that floor away from you quite strongly. Really push strongly down on the floor. Push the floor away from you with your feet and your arm and shoulder. Push quite strongly. You've only got about 10 more seconds here. You can make it. 10, 9, good. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, other way around, facing the direction. Here we go, a minute on this side. And you might feel an immediate difference on this side. It might feel easier or harder. That's not unusual. No one is symmetrical. Try not to let your hips go back and let your body round forward either, right? You want to bring your chest and eyes to face forward in front of you, out into the ether. Project yourself forward. Push that floor away from you. Breathe. Acknowledge how you feel. Make sure that shoulder is not creeping up to your ear on the bottom side. Really push down strongly. You can think of rotating your arm as well, as if you're screwing your arm subtly through the floor. That will help you have the strength required to maintain this position. Really push. Push strongly. Really push, reaching out through the crown of your head. You have 10 more seconds here. Here we go. 10, breathe. 9, you can do it. 8, great job. Push those hips up. 7, look out into space. 6, 5, great job. 4, really good work here. 3, 2, yay! Excellent job. And rest. We're going to repeat the side variation again. Maybe you learned a lot about yourself right there, right? Maybe whatever you chose was just too intense. So you go up a level from the furniture, the couch, go up to the countertop, right? If it was too easy on the countertop, Maybe bring your elbow down to the countertop as long as it's not going to slip, right? Use some traction there. Maybe that feels better for you, right? If you had your knees on the floor and your elbow on the couch, maybe try straight arm on the couch and one leg long, right? That would look like this, right? You don't have to have two knees down, right? You can have one knee down, other leg straight. That's a great variation as well to practice. We are going to do the sides again, so gird your loins and get ready for that. We have about a minute left. You're doing really well. Side planks are really challenging, and again, people tend to lack strength on the sides of their body. Right, so I can't tell you how many people I see who are pretty decent when it comes to a plank facing the floor. But when we come to a side plank, it's a different world. They don't have the strength that they did. And that just means they need to practice less of the plank forward and more of the plank side, right? That's all that means. It doesn't mean that they're weak or inferior. It just means they need to practice and orient their attentions a little bit differently. They've got the forward plank down. Practice your sides for a bit more and you'll get stronger. Strength happens by practice. The strength fairy does not come at night while you're sleeping. I know, you're shocked to hear that. Everyone wishes that it did, but that's just not what we're set up for. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it. I think it's great to practice things. It's good to practice things that you're not quite proficient at. That's how you learn. And learning is a very satisfying feeling. Yeah, it might not be the prettiest thing, but it doesn't make it less beneficial for you. All right, here we go. Set yourself up. Again, top leg forward is easier. Leg stacked is harder. Into your side plank, pushing that floor away from you. And again, feel free to elevate that palm off the floor by putting a folded up towel there. Make sure your shoulders over your wrists as much as you can. If the hand's too far away from you, that'll be way too hard to hold. If it's underneath you too much, that'll be too aggressive as well. Really put it under that shoulder directly like a vertical column. Reaching out through the crown of your head, nice and long. Try not to let your chest cave in. You want to look forward, push the floor down, looking forward and out into space. You're doing really well here. Push that floor down. Make sure your bottom ear doesn't creep up to your shoulder. Bottom shoulder doesn't creep up to your ear. That's the opposite. Really draw the floor down away from you. Push it down. Reach the crown of the head up while that shoulder is going to want to creep up. Again, put the bottom knee down if it's too much for you. There's nothing wrong with taking a break for 5. Breathe. 4. We're going to switch other side. 3, 2. You got it. Other side. Here we go. If your legs were stacked, make them stacked. Otherwise, top leg is forward. Again, push the floor away from you quite strongly. Reach out through the crown of your head. Look away from the floor. Look out into the horizon of your mind's eye. That will really help you have a nice sense of length and posture. It's as if you're walking here. You want to look forward and not always down at the street. Yes, you can glance down once in a while to make sure the street's there and isn't collapsing underneath you, that there's no debris, but you generally want to look nice and tall and forward. Really push the floor down with your feet and bottom arm to drive those hips up. Try not to let the hips sway down towards the floor or too high up towards the sky. Reaching out long, breathing. Here we go, 10-second countdown, breathing. 10, push the floor away. 9, good. 8, 7, easy. 6, push, you can do it. 5, you got it. 4, great job. Push the shoulder down away from the ear. 3, you got it. 2, yay. 1 knee down, 2 knees down. Rest. And again, rotate your wrist. Get them circulation there. Really great job. Now the last variation we're doing is a reverse plank, and it's the least commonly practiced form of planks. And you can guess, a lot of people don't have the strength to do it. Now here's one that's hard to practice against the wall, but easier against a countertop, right? Take your hands on the corner of the counter and walk your feet forward, right? On the floor or wherever, your hands can face whichever way works best for you, right? I tend to prefer to have my hands facing my fingers towards my toes, but you might like your fingers rotated out a bit. You can have your legs straight or knees bent. You can have one leg straight for a minute, then the other leg straight for a minute. That works as well. You can also be on a couch or a low box. This is one where the elbows can be down with your hips up, and that is a nice variation. But again, realize it's going to put a lot more pressure to your upper body than with arms straight. So if your wrists are bothering you, instead of going down a level, maybe go up a level and get the strength that you need, unless you want to have the intensity of your upper body being challenged dramatically like that. Now I'm going to push these away so I have more camera view because I'm going to do it on the floor, right? So here it's difficult. This one may take the most amount of practice and the most time to be comfortable with. So start with your knees bent, elbows on the couch is what I recommend, right? Don't have any shame about making modifications that you need to make your body work for you, right? You might find that your legs, if your legs are straight, that rotating your knees out feels good. You might find that having your knees face the sky is good. We're not going to make one good or one bad. Do what works best for you. We're almost ready to go. Here we go. Up we go. Come on. Breathe. That's right. Now here, your shoulders are going to want to creep up here. Push the floor away from you. Really draw your shoulder blades together quite strongly. Your feet and heels are pushing the floor down quite strongly. I do recommend looking forward with your eyes. You can look up a bit and lean your head back if you want, but that's much more aggressive on your neck. Adjust as you need to. It is a lot of force, so you can feel that gravity is pulling you down. So really push the floor away with those arms. Really draw the shoulder blades together quite strongly. Here, you can think of pushing the heels down, squeeze your bum if you know where that is, and drive those hips up. Keep breathing. If it's too much for you, bend one knee, right? Take a break there, and then switch legs. Or bend both knees. Really drive those hips up. Push the floor down. Shoulder blades are squeezing, squeezing, squeezing together. Push, 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 push. If you need to take a break, there is nothing wrong with taking a break. I will say with straight legs here, it's a lot on your neck in general because you got to keep your chin to your chest a bit. So that may be uncomfortable for quite a few people. Quite a few people. I said those words right. Really push those hips up, looking forward or looking up a bit, whatever works best for you. You can feel how taxing this variation is. That's why people practice it the least. But again, you want to get strong relative to gravity in this position, just like the other ones. You just may need to make it easier for yourself for a little bit, right? Let's try bending our knees if you're not already and pushing those hips up. See? That's a much friendlier version than with straight legs, right? Push those hips up. Push the floor down. Great job. Drive your legs together. Make sure your knees aren't falling apart. Push the floor down away from you. Push, 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 push. Really good job. Yay! And come down. You did great. Excellent work. And let's rotate your wrists out here. Really great job. So for me, I had to modify that last version. I couldn't quite make 2 minutes. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said earlier, reverse plank is the least practiced. For a lot of reasons. A lot on your wrist, it's a lot on your neck, right? That doesn't make it less valuable. It just makes it more challenging. Right, I remember I was in a yoga class once and the instructor, who was a fine instructor, had been instructing for many years, kept saying that that position was the hardest one ever. And I kept thinking, well, that's because I've only done it once in your class of how many years? I see other planks a lot, but I don't see this plank a lot. So, some common sense thinking there really goes a long way. Right, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. And again, practice is just that. You may not reach the end goal the first time you try. That just means by practicing and modifying to make it appropriate for you, you'll get closer to that goal over time. Will you ever be on the floor, arms and legs straight? Who cares? Are you going to practice towards that goal? Yes. Does it matter if you attain it? That's up to you. I would say not so much. What matters more is that you're comfortable and inspired to do more, not less. And I think by modifying it to make it more appropriate to where you are, you might do it a bit more than if the goal was just get there and suffer, right? I've talked a lot. My name is Eric. This is Nucleus Strength. I look forward to getting stronger with you in the future. Yours in good health. Take care.